Backcountry Hunters and Anglers is where it's at. Be here with us. Be one of us. Be an advocate. Keep it public. Thank you. This thing working, Vanna? We did rehearsal earlier today, and they said, Randy, you got to tell a good public land story. I said, okay. How about getting thrown in jail in Mexico? That work? And really, I'm a fugitive from Mexican justice. We don't have enough time to tell that story. And they said, well, what the hell does that have to do with public lands in America? I said, because I was sitting in that cell, listening, smelling, worrying about all of Mexico's most hardened, sex-starved criminals. And I put my head down and I said, God, I love America. But in your life, events happen that kind of are a pivot point in your life, whether you're young, whether you're old, whatever it is. And for me, I grew up in northern Minnesota, and my dad was a Finlander, and if you know Finlanders, you fish. And you drink a little beer occasionally, not until you get older, but he drank a little beer. And I'm going to try to connect the dot of how I became a kid who was allowed to wander the wildness of Chippewa National Forest, of Voyageurs National Park, of all the places that were wild around me. And I think I was 7 years old. My dad didn't believe in boat motors. That was just for rich people. He had a little 12-foot Crestliner boat, and he told me and my sister, 3 years younger, he said, I'm going to take you guys to Big Ole. Big Ole was named after my mom's family, Olaf Oakland. I'm going to take you there and we're going to go catch a dinner of bluegills in the lily pads. Well, we could never go somewhere with just 2 kids. My dad's idea was if you only brought 2 kids, you really weren't asking for trouble. So he stopped at my mom's parents' house, my grandparents' house. I just got to say this. People wonder how I'm as old as my uncles. My mom is only 16 years older than me, so we won't get into that story. But anyhow, we stop at my grandparents' house, and we grab my 2 youngest uncles, who are 1 and 3 years older than me. And now we have a serious fishing crew now. So we drive down the road to Big Ole Lake. We've been there since forever as kids. This is where we all grew up. And in Minnesota at the time, there was a TV show. We had one channel that came out of Canada, CBC. And there was a fishing show on there, and the guy's name was Wally Pease. And we all thought we were Wally Pease. Me and my 2 uncles, we would go and catch night crawlers. We'd trap minnows. We'd do whatever. And we'd sell it and convert it into the biggest musky lures you've ever seen. I was only 7 years old, and I could hardly carry my tackle box full of musky lures. Why I thought I needed musky lures to go fishing bluegills, I don't know, but I had the nicest tackle box in town. I was the envy of most of the men in town. So the rule in our boat, and my dad, as he would row us from the boat dock across the little bay to the lily pads, he'd always say, all right, you little bleep, 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 no casting in this boat. I don't want you to be snagging your little sister here. So we'd rig up our bobbers, put a worm there, and kind of look over the side. And we knew within short order my dad was going to have polished off most of his 6 or 12 pack of Ham's beer. And when he would do that, he had a tendency, he smoked old gold cigarettes, and he would lean across the back end of the 12-foot Crestliner and he'd start nodding off. And as he would nod off, my sister was sitting there in the back seat, or the kind of a little seat he'd bring for her. And me and my 2 uncles would be in the bow. And we were convinced that the largest fish in northern Minnesota lived somewhere underneath those overhanging birch trees. And when my dad fell asleep, we would grab a big pikey minnow and tie it onto our line, and we would cast and we would catch that huge pike or that huge muskie, and we would be the heroes of the town. The dreams of a 7-year-old. Well, this day happened like most others, like clockwork. All of a sudden, my dad is nodding off, laying back there, and his old gold cigarette falls out of his mouth into the bottom of the boat. And that was code for my Uncle Jimmer. Now, no one in my family has a real name. Jimmer and Boog were my two uncles. Greg and Dave are their real names. And Jimmer looks back and sees my dad asleep and instantly cuts his line and grabs a big silver pikey with the red glitter on the side that is every bit of 8 inches long. And he has that tied on really quick, and he muscles between Boog and I to the very bow of the boat. And like a samurai warrior, Jim goes back like this, like he's going to chop someone's head off. And as he does that, that pikey minnow grabs the inside. This is 1971. So my dad is a styling dude, you know. He's wearing these like pea green nylon pants. And Jimmer's pikey minnow grabs him right here. And Jimmer's up there and he goes like this and nothing happens. He feels tension. And he says, "Boog, let go." And Boog's looking at me like we're dead. And Jimmer gives it one more good yank, and he pulls my dad off the back seat of the boat onto the floor. And my dad now comes to life with a bellow like only a logger from northern Minnesota can impart across the echoes of the lake. And he stands up in this little 12-foot boat, and he's wobbling, he's holding on to Jimmer's line. And my sister is like, "I am dead. I am about to witness the murder of my uncle and my older brother." And my dad, if you were anybody in the 1970s, you had a Zippo lighter. My dad, seeing that Jimmer is not going to relent, he's, "Let go, let go." Well, as he's wobbling and trying to keep his balance, now my dad has another treble hook snagged on the inside of the other part of his beautiful nylon pants. And down he goes into the bottom of the boat, smashing the styrofoam cooler that held the remainder of his 12-pack of beer. He breaks out his Zippo lighter, and he grabs the fishing line and the monofilament, and he strikes the lighter, and he gets the line undone. Burns it off. And Jimmer turns and looks back and realizes he has a 220-pound Finlander on the end of his line. And Jimmer, he was the one in the family, he wore what we later called birth control glasses. They were like Army-issue solid black glasses. And you know why they're called birth control glasses if you ever had to wear one. You didn't have to worry about too many girlfriends if you had a pair. And Jimmer instantly starts crying because he knows we are dead. There's no plea for mercy. There is nothing. It is just now our time has come. Somehow in all of this, my dad restrains himself. And I don't know how he got that pikey minnow out of his crotch, but he told us kids in a very colorful form of language, which when we repeated his language, we'd say something really bad, and our grandmother would say, "Where did you hear that?" "Your son says it every day, my dad." But anyhow, that's a whole nother story. My dad rows us back to the boat ramp, a little dock. He ties off, and he tells my sister, "Go to the truck." Uh-oh. This is not gonna be good. And he grabs an oar, and I'm thinking that's the bluntest instrument he could reach for. And he throws it up towards the truck, and I'm like, "Whew, at least he didn't kill me with an oar." He grabs the other oar and he throws it up there, and I'm thinking, well, maybe he's not as mad as I think he is. And he grabs me kind of here, and he carries me to the truck without my feet touching the ground. And he sets me, no one had a topper at this point. He sets me on a wheel well and says, "Don't move." I did not move. he goes over and grabs my Uncle Boog. Boog was smaller than me, even though he's 3 years older. He's like a little half pint. He's got Boog by the back of his t-shirt, sets him on the other wheel well. And Jimmer is standing there at the end of the dock. Don't kill me, Delbert! And my dad felt bad. And so he grabbed Jim, he swatted him a little bit, and he threw him in the bed of the truck. And then we went home. And you're probably saying, well, what does that have to do with public land? Well, that was the last time my dad ever took us fishing as a group. And when we went home, he told my mom, he said, I'm never taking your son or your brothers fishing ever again. They are going to have to figure it out themselves. We live by a river. They can fish by this river. I don't care if there's nothing but suckers in that river. They're going to fish in this river. And that river went through some of the coolest public land in America. From age 7 to the day I left there, I spent every summer day on the banks of the Big Fork River, fishing for anything that was there, wearing out my pikey minnows, catching suckers, catching smallmouth bass, the occasional walleye, every once in a while a muskie, but I was allowed to lose myself in the wild, what I thought was the wildest place. And that came to be such a part of my identity of who I am, that if my Uncle Jimmer had not snagged my dad in the crotch with a pikey minnow, I may not be here in front of you as a public land advocate. Thank you. Thank you.